Ezekiel here. There have been some rather disturbing reports and videos online lately from Manchester in the UK. It seems there was a disturbance at the Palace Theatre at the ending of a performance of The Bodyguard. The police turned up en masse to eject two ladies from the audience. Weird. To update us on events, I have invited Lady Hortensia Crawfish Dunns, double N, who I understand was in the vicinity of Manchester last night. Well, what a night! Who would have thought that a little appreciative singing at the end of a fairly mediocre performance would have caused so much fuss? Can't be much of a bodyguard if they need police assistance every time someone breaks into song. Dear oh dear. My friend Elsie and I had been over to Yorkshire the week before, Leeds to be precise, to see that fabulous show, Mamma Mia. She does the driving, you see. I'm not allowed at 102. I can't think why. It was by far a much friendlier experience and performance from a fabulous cast. And at the end, they were encouraging us all to dance and sing our little hearts out. Oh, it was so uplifting. Marvellous show. So, when my friend suggested that we go along to Manchester to see The Bodyguard, I thought, well, the film plot was fairly weak, and the singing of one of my favourite Dolly Parton songs was massacred by Whitney Houston. She completely overdid it in the film. But then I thought, no, be grateful. Elsie is a dear heart and does all the driving. So I agreed, and I put on my new fuchsia red jacket, and off we went to the Palace Theatre. And just like the film, the plot was weak, and most of the music I'd never heard of, and the acting left an awful lot to be desired, particularly the actor playing the bodyguard. Oh dear, he had all the charisma of a co-op security man. Elsie seemed to be enjoying herself, so I let her share a little sip or two of my flask that I always take along just in case the performance is lagging. We'd finished it by the time the finale began. Some American singer from a girl band who was no longer wanted by them started to do a Whitney Houston impersonation and sing in that murderous manner. I just don't know what came over me. I couldn't help myself. I had to do something. So I started. If I should stay, I would only be in you. And before I could get into the second sentence, Elsie had joined in. It was lovely. Elsie was singing the harmony line beautifully. I was sure that the American woman on stage was half a semitone under. I think that's why they cut off her microphone, you know. It was a blessing, really. But I thought, good heavens, you can't stop now. The show must go on. So I continued. By now, Elsie and I were in full flight, and the audience seemed to be appreciating our efforts and began to cheer us on. And then, out of nowhere, just as we were reaching our crescendo, two burly men appeared and rudely interrupted us. They said, I'm afraid you will have to leave. To which I replied, really? Is there a fire? A legitimate question, I thought. And the next thing, he was grabbing my arm and pulling me along the aisle. And Elsie was being manhandled too. Terribly disgusting behaviour. I grabbed the man's testicles and squeezed fiercely. I thought we were being kidnapped. You can see it in the video. It's all there. I'm the one in the reddish jacket with my back to the audience. You can see I'm fighting him all the way to the exit. I thought to myself, what has the country come to when two people of our age can be pulled off in a theatre and no one does anything to stop it? In defiance, I continued singing, and bless them, you can hear the audience cheering in appreciation of my efforts right at the end of the video. Go on, search it out, have a look. When we eventually were escorted outside, there were 3 police wagons, and police everywhere. Good Lord, I said, has there been another terrorist attack? At which point, one of the senior policemen present rather sheepishly said, "No, ma'am, but we will have to take you to the station for questioning." At least, I think that's what he said. I could hardly hear him for Elsie singing over him. When we finally got to the station, they were going to charge us with some nonsense and said I could call a solicitor, to which I replied, "No problem, officer. I have a 24-hour call-out number directed to my barrister friend, Henry Forsley, QC. I will give him a call, shall I?" After rapidly deciding that would not be necessary, the Manchester police asked us if we would like a lift home, as they suspected Elsie was over the limit after devouring most of my flask. "Where are you from?" they said. "Buckinghamshire," I replied. And do you know, they couldn't do enough for us. We headed down the M6 and M40, blue lights flashing and sirens blaring. And Elsie, bless her heart, still singing in the back of the police car all the way home. It was far more entertaining than The Bodyguard. I wouldn't recommend it. It's a shit show. If I were you and I lived in Manchester, I would pop on the train over to Leeds and watch Mamma Mia. Absolute perfection. But then again, we are talking ABBA. The winner takes it all, the loser has to fall.